This is the Layover podcast, where your hosts Tracy Davis and Patrick Trevino share the unfiltered, behind-the-scenes stories of entrepreneurship. So sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy your flight. This is the Layover podcast.
I can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not.
Welcome back, my friends. Thank you again for tuning into this week's episode of the Layover podcast. I am so grateful that you are here with me today and going to be able to hear this amazing guest that I will introduce shortly. But first off, I want to thank you for anyone who was in attendance of our event that we co-hosted with Upward this past week. Thank you guys so much. For those of you who weren't able to join, I got to be real, you kind of missed out. It was a sold out event. We had over 50 people there, and it was primarily women, just strong, powerful, brilliant women. And we had a panel of other business owners, founders, recruiters, women who have changed jobs and gone through that transition. And the wisdom that they brought to the table was it was so inspiring. And guys, I got the opportunity to moderate, and it was something that I was honestly really excited about doing. And it was so much fun, minus the fact that I was battling this, lack of voice situation. But being able to ask the questions and hear their stories, it was just, I walked away truly inspired. And it was amazing because I was actually pulled aside by several women who shared the same sentiment. And I even had some women who, came to me and just in tears because it was a message that they needed. And it left me in tears because being able to be a part of something that can inspire someone else, even if I am just on the outskirts and helping ask the questions, it was something just so beautiful. And to see all these brilliant women in a single room together, supporting each other and learning from each other, it is exactly what we need more of. And so guys, if you haven't already, make sure that you sign up for Mind and Social's newsletter, because we are going to be throwing more events, some similar to that, some extremely different, but still beneficial for you. But that is where you're going to hear the most up-to-date schedule and the events coming down the line, and where you'll be able to get notified for RSVP. And on top of that, we've recently released a program called the Vision Program. And this is an 8-week program that we have over at Mind and Social, where you receive one-on-one coaching, you receive materials for planning a business, materials for helping navigate the challenges that you might see. But this is really for those who are ready to take that next step and want to start their own thing, start their own business. And someone who is looking for really that weekly coaching, navigating the steps from start to finish, from strategy and visioning what this new business is going to look like, to the steps to create it, to the steps of creating your sales strategy or your operating strategy, and really what it looks like to figure out who you are as a leader. And so I'm really excited to release this. It's new, fairly new. We've been doing something similar, but we put it into a package for you guys so that we can really work with you hand in hand and to support your success as a new business owner. So check it out. It's on our website at mindandsocial.com. If you have any questions or just want to see if it's a good fit for you, reach out. You get a 15-minute free consultation where we can talk through it to see if it's a good fit before you jump in. So check that out. Again, mindandsocial.com, and don't forget to sign up for that newsletter. Now, this week's episode, guys, I'm really excited to announce it because it hits home a little bit for me because it's also a fellow family business. And this week we get to interview Lindsey Miner, who is one of the founders of Inventory Smart. Now, Inventory Smart has recently gone through new changes and bringing in new partners, but at the core, they started as a family business. And Lindsey is someone who saw a problem, her and her family. They identified it, they created the solution, and it took off, and they were able to create a business and really support the market with something that wasn't currently being done. And I love that story, and I love talking with Lindsey because you hear about the struggles, but also the beautiful part about family business, what it's like to work with your mom or your sister. And you know me, I am open about family business. I love it. It's near and dear to my heart. But getting to hear someone else's journey is also extremely inspiring, and you're going to love because Inventory Smart is not only a beautiful, amazing company, but the people who work there, the people who run it, Lindsey and her sister Molly, who we know really well, they're truly beautiful souls. And that's when you know you got a good company. When the leaders have, the vision, but the leaders can also create this culture of just strength and brilliance and really client-centric and customer-focused. So we got the chance to sit down with Lindsey. I apologize if there's any background noise. It was in a public space this time because, again, that was the only time we could catch Lindsey because she is incredibly busy. But you're going to get to hear her journey. So, guys, thank you again for tuning in this week's episode. If you haven't already and you feel called to, please rate and review and make sure that you're subscribed. And also check out our YouTube because we have a channel and we are starting to release all the videos of our podcast on YouTube. So make sure you head over there and hit that subscribe button so that you get notified for all the new videos. And before we jump into this week's episode, I have to give a huge thank you and shout out to this week's sponsor, Inventory Smart. Now, if you haven't heard of the company, you're going to learn all about it on this episode, but I have to tell you, it is an amazing company and, guys, maybe equally as important, an incredible product. Now, Inventory Smart is a wireless web-based solution, and it's designed to simplify supply management and give you full visibility over the essentials for your daily operations. Now, I know a lot of our listeners here sometimes own a building or a facility. They're either managing a building or facility. So this is a software solution that you have to check out, and we can attest to it because we've used it, we've seen it. We also sometimes support in selling it. And guys, I got to do a shout out because Trax also integrates with it. Now, this software was developed in 2011, truly from an expressed need and a recognized void, which is what you're going to hear more about in this episode. But Ski and C, who is the leading provider of housewares in the resort industry, they heard from their clients that managing on-hand supplies was the biggest bottleneck of the operation. So they worked closely with the resort, the housekeeping managers to understand the struggles and the goals. And now enter Inventory Smart. It's a unique solution and it's inventory focused to where they're centering on a reliable and easy user experience, but delivering the efficiency, accountability, and analytics that the executives desire because we know how important data is to an executive. I can attest, I live and die on data. So facilities know what they have. They learn where it's located, how to distribute it, who touched it last, when to order more. And what truly sets them apart is their commitment to every facility and building owner and manager their own unique needs. So they learn the operation and then they build an Inventory Smart account around their preferred practices. And beautifully, they support everyone on their team and your team with a personalized service. Guys, it is something that is just, you can't find a company like this anymore. You can't find a product like this anymore. Other than Trax, let's get real. Come on. I'm just kidding. But the results are real. It helps eliminate overstocking, reducing stockouts or needs for rush orders. It increases labor efficiency, heightens accountability. It can link to your preferred systems, and it helps you save money. Now we're talking. So with the proven success, Inventory Smart has expanded into many industries such as aviation, janitorial, and education, and they keep growing. Guys, you got to take inventory off your mind and go purchase Inventory Smart. Now, thank you guys again for sponsoring this episode. Head out to their website and we will post it in the show notes so you know exactly where to find them. And if you're tied to our newsletter, you'll also get some information about them as well. So without further ado, I am so excited to introduce Miss Lindsey Miner, who is the founder of Inventory Smart. Thanks, guys. We are live. Welcome, Lindsey, to the Layover podcast.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
We are excited to have you and to hear your story because you guys have gone through a journey over the past few years.
Yeah.
But for those of you who don't know Lindsey Miner, please tell us who you are.
Lindsey Miner. I'm with a company called Inventory Smart. We actually have many layers to our company now, but out of Denver and looking forward to talking about what we do and my story.
I love it. I love it. So, people that might not know, Inventory Smart's a family business. So we have to hear about that experience because Pat is witness being a part of a family business, been a part of it. I've been a part of it. It's a lot. It's a whole lot.
Yeah, I actually really love it. It was never in the plan, but I work really closely with my sister, worked very closely with my mom, and my grandmother actually started our original company in the 60s.
Wow.
So
60s.
a lot of strong women in the company, big entrepreneurs.
And strong for sure. She almost broke my hand the first time I met her. We'll tell that story later.
You did put the fear of God into
She
Pat,
did.
so
I was like, wow.
dominant. So multi-generation of female business owners, which is something you don't see often, especially in a business started in the 60s. So you've seen what it's like to be a woman entrepreneur your entire life. So was that kind of in your forefront of, I'm going to be an entrepreneur?
No, I was going to be a doctor.
Oh,
So,
well, damn.
yeah.
Okay, that's a
Alrighty
shift.
then.
This was not in the plan. Yeah, my whole, really since middle school, high school, that was my plan to be a doctor. I was pre-med in college, took the MCAT, was going that direction.
What?
And yeah.
How did,
Yeah.
okay.
I
She's
know.
also like D1 athlete too.
Okay, well, now we're just flexing a little bit. She's like, I'm a doctor, I'm a D1 athlete.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a doctor.
Well, it was
but,
funny because
yeah.
when we first met, like we were eating, we were having dinner, and she was like telling me, and I'm just like, wow, okay then.
You're
the
like,
bar
I feel
has been
very
raised.
inadequate right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I went to the U. It took me 5 years.
I mean, why would you leave college?
Yeah.
Now looking back, it's like, why did I rush through it?
Yeah.
Really?
Right?
But-
Yeah, I should have
So
enjoyed
you
it
go
more.
through this whole
Great time.
process. You know, you're. It sounds like you're almost getting to the point of being the finish line to become a doctor. Okay.
What happened?
Just life changes. I got married really young, and it was just, I think we weren't really ready to commit to that because not only getting into medical school, but then all the school that happens with
Yeah.
that,
Right.
and then actually you're not really even making money for quite a long
Right,
time.
right.
So I was just going to take a break from it. My mom was like, you know what, why don't you just come work for me for a bit, move back to Colorado. I was out in Florida. And I was like, yeah, great idea.
And then you never left.
Yeah, and I,
Come
and
work
I
for the
never
summer.
turned
And-
back.
yeah.
She like changed the keys, like locked her car keys away. Like, you can't
Yeah.
ever leave.
And what was your alumni like? Where'd you graduate from?
University of Florida.
That's right.
So I'm a Gator.
She's a Gator.
Yeah,
Boo.
I know. No hard feelings on the Bulldogs.
Yeah, we're working through it. We're working through
Yeah.
it. So, what did you do when you first started with your mom's business? What was your role?
I was a sales assistant.
Yep.
So
Started
just,
from the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Came in and I did anything and everything.
Yeah.
From filing to finding HTS codes to just processing orders, whatever needed to be done.
Right.
My mom at the time, so our original company was a housewares company, and at the time she was trying to roll out this division called College Kitchen, so like college kitchen packages to sell to college students when they move into an apartment or a dorm.
That's really
and
smart.
So we were trying to build that out.
So, you know, one thing I will say, interviewing people, meeting startups, being in family business, trust me, I've learned a lot, is when part of the family member or sibling joins the team, when they start from the bottom and work their way up, you can see the chemistry of the company and how that person understands their role. And so it's not like my mom is a CEO, she's a president, I'm going to immediately become the executive vice president, right?
Yeah.
It's like you got to earn that from the
Absolutely.
beginning. But
Definitely.
I think it helps a lot in leadership style and management style of the company, future state, because you're
Yeah.
building all of this. You know what it feels like to be that sales
Right.
person and whatnot.
And I think
so.
the organization respects you more, right?
Absolutely. I can't imagine wanting to just have that title immediately. That's not, it wouldn't feel good for me because I hadn't earned it and I didn't know as much as anyone else in the company.
In
so.
all fairness, I can't imagine disrespecting Lindsey.
Scared of you.
Just so you know.
So then from there, you start working your way up. I know that we've talked in the past where you guys have come up with different ideas, different products. So you go through this process. When does Inventory Smart come out of all of this, right? Because
Yeah.
it was a product, right?
Yeah. So our company the industry was consolidating. We were working with a lot of timeshare companies, and all the small management companies kept getting acquired by the bigger ones. And
Right.
so you'd end up with one big contract that was like 65% of your business, which is scary. Well, we ended up losing one of those. And so all of a sudden, our income just went way down. So my mom is actually really creative, really forward thinking. And of course, as a business owner, you really want to take care of your people.
Yeah.
Right.
So we sat down and we were like, we got to pivot. We need to do something. So started talking to our network at the time, and I had been with the company for about 7 years at that point. So I got to know a lot of people. We were asking them, what's your biggest bottleneck? How can we help you? Not related to housewares necessarily, just anything. And we heard over and over, inventory is an issue, a huge issue. They said, if you can help us manage and control our inventory, that would be awesome. Like, really? You don't have a system that does that?
Yeah, it's like the most simplistic things
so
people are not thinking through. Yeah.
So we were like, surely there's something out there. So then we started to, we have great developers that we work with in Colorado. And so we started kind of bouncing around some ideas, and it was really fun for me because I got to do it from a user perspective. So I would shadow operators and housekeepers and maintenance techs at different resorts and figure out what their operation was and how they were tracking inventory, and when they knew things were missing or when they knew to order, and they really didn't. It was like
wild.
They would do like monthly physical accounts and
on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then nobody understands the handwriting, so it doesn't know what that was.
Yeah. And the funny thing with housewares is that like language can be a barrier just in anything, but housewares has its own language that even English speakers don't understand. So a spatula can be a turner, can be a bowl scraper, can be so many different things.
Oh, interesting.
So we're like, pictures are going to be critical.
Yeah.
So we really built it with the user in mind, keep it simple, but then also make it robust enough so that the executives had all the reporting that they needed to make it effective.
Do you guys remember your very first sale of that?
Yeah, it was a really small resort out in California, and RJ Jackson, he's well retired by now, but he actually knew my grandmother, so he loved our company and was really supportive and let us come in, and they were our guinea pig.
So did you do the first sale?
Yes. Yeah. By then my mom had roped me into sales, so I was stuck, but just loved it.
Yeah, the doctor stuff is gone.
Yeah.
Your mom's like, that's gone.
We're done.
Yeah. And I got to see it all the way through. So, I mean, I was really a one-man show at that point, right? So I'm like developing it, selling it, and installing.
So you know what's funny is that when I first met them, both Lindsey and her sister Molly, which I didn't know, they kept that for me for like 2 years. And the day they told me, my mouth dropped. But when I first met them, we were at a innovation aviation show, and I was walking around, and there's your typical, when aviation everyone wanted to do biometrics, and they're still trying to figure it out 50 years later or 20 years later. And I walk by their booth, and it's a small 10x10 booth just sitting in a corner, and both of them are sitting there, and I walk by and I look at the user interface, and it's so simplistic. It does a lot of complexities, right? It solves a lot of issues, but it's the user interface, and I can see now. I didn't know this part of it, that you researched all this to do the user interface, but it was so simple. And I remember then I didn't stalk them like I did with Courtney, but I introduced myself because I was so impressed and then I started to understand what you guys were doing, and then they're like, oh, we're trying to grow in aviation, and they were doing resorts and stuff, and I was like, we're trying to grow at tracks and these, like maybe we can help each other out. Then that night, I think we went to dinner or maybe we went to an event, and I started to get to hear their stories, and their story is like your story of
I was
tracks,
just actually thinking
right?
that. Yeah,
it was
very
like,
similar.
Like, you were a one-man show, right? You sold it,
Yeah.
then you had to go configure it, and then you had to go install it,
those days.
and then you sit there overnight hoping nothing breaks,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you do it, and it's the same exact story when I heard the way Trax was formed, right?
Yeah.
From the beginning of when the product was, you climbing on ladders and probably breaking every OSHA violation.
I'd like climb ladders and heels and then like install it and then run to train and then like
Yeah,
it was
exactly,
just,
exactly. And then go to a hotel, shower, change, and come in a different outfit
Yeah,
to make it look
absolutely.
like you're a different person. Yeah, I really saw there, but I saw this energy, I saw that, and I remember coming back to, well, actually, it's funny because we went to there was a beautiful after party, and I always have to tell this story because the next day were like, oh, so like how was the event? I was like, oh, it was kind of boring. And then like 2 days later, me and her sister are in the front page of the FTE
that was
pages
so
of like
great.
dancing and having a good time. With, like, and I was like, oh, hopefully Tracy doesn't see this article coming out. But I saw the synergies, and I remember coming back to Trax. and we were in the middle of like developing, right?
Yeah.
We were like developing Clean and Inspect, right? We were really revamping it, and there was a part of it that said like they were like, oh, should we do like inventory? And I remember saying like, no, I don't think that's our playground. That's not what we want to do. We want to be able to like adjust how like people are using like real-time consumables. Like, hey, I'm using these not three plates, but like three things of paper towels, toilet paper, toilet tissue. And I said, but I'm at this company. And I remember telling you, I said, guys, you guys got to see this. And I was like, it's very simplistic. And I remember they did a demo for our team. And I said, everyone was like, yeah. I was like, no, you don't understand. This product is so simple. Anyone can use it.
That's the key.
And so it didn't matter if there was a language barrier. It didn't matter. It's very simplistic. And so kudos to you guys for being able to do that and taking the due diligence to like go and research and see like we're not just going to build something because we think that's what the market's going to do in a user. You actually took the time to go and do it. A lot of software companies don't do that.
Absolutely.
That's their biggest mistake. And they're like, how come we're not selling it? I was like, nobody knows how to use it. It's so complex, right?
For sure.
So,
well, and smart for you guys to not try to be everything to everybody.
Exactly.
So that's where the partnerships come in, and that's what we found for other inventory systems. It was really an afterthought for what they were really trying to do, but they knew there was a need for it.
Yeah, and our biggest thing. I mean, we haven't got that beautiful opportunity to do a full integration with their system, but I do believe that especially I don't want to call us small businesses, right? But like really not being a conglomerate of a million people and all these other things, but creating partnerships and true partnerships, not like, hey, we're just going to work together here, but like really helping each other out. I was at this conference and I heard someone say something about inventory, pass this lead to you guys, or hey, one of my current clients, et cetera, or can you make an introduction? We have that partnership with Inventory Smart, and you're a lot stronger together as an ecosystem, right? And I believe that it's almost like stay in your lane aspect of it, but it's more like of a level of respect, like all the stuff that went into what you guys have done. We're good at what we do. You guys are good at what you guys do. But combining that together, it's a full package to someone, right? It drives a lot of value to a customer. So kudos to you guys for designing that.
At what point, so you created this new product, it's starting to take off. At what point did it become a separate company?
Yeah, so we actually
after the first sale.
I know.
Like,
we're onto something.
Right, yeah. We created it really to help our clients track the products that we provided them. So it initially was part of our ordering site and the site that our client portal where they could log in and see what they had on hand and that sort of thing. But they said, housewares is really a small part of what we track and what we stock on hand. We have maintenance, we have chemicals, we have all these other things that we really need to make sure we have enough of and we know where it is. So that's when we pulled it. And we said there's no reason for it to live in our housewares portal. We need to pull it and make it its own. And then we had one of our bigger clients. We actually signed a really big contract about 2 years in. And then the person who was kind of our main contact, she started working for Delta Airlines and said, we need it here. And so that's how we started getting into aviation and realized this can be a bigger solution than just in hospitality.
And you run that company?
Yes. Well, I founded it. My sister's really now taking off with it, but
that's incredible. What was that experience like? Because you obviously started off as a sales assistant or a sales admin, and then now you're at this position where you're like, okay, I'm now,
a sales admin with like a PhD.
Yeah, so. That is the most educated.
This is doctor.
I wish.
But what was that journey like? Were you ready to jump in and run your company, or was it just something that was like you had to do, or you figured it out?
It was really organic. One thing that I really love about my mom is she's so empowering, and along the way, you don't even realize it, but she empowers you to make decisions and to go for something, and she's really supportive, and if it fails, we just figure out a different way, and so you don't even realize it, but you're starting to be that leader and that entrepreneur before you even really have to take the dive. So
yeah, I mean, it's true. It was not even a forefront when Trax was created for it to even be a separate thing, and so it just, you kind of blink and you're like, oh my gosh, wait, what just happened over 5 years? Like I remember, like I still feel like I'm in like my mid-20s, like in the back closet installing cameras, and then now you're like
wow, this is. It's
Well, I don't think we should say in a closet installing cameras. Okay, but I would say, I'll blame that it's early in the morning in Vegas and you're on your first coffee. But you got.
You know what I mean.
You're installing
now
hardware.
all of your customers are like,
they're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean. Okay, take that back. You know what I mean, though. You know what I mean.
I was with you.
But so you mentioned earlier, Molly is your sister, who also works in the business, and so how is that dynamic?
So we really took a long, hard thought on if this was really even a good idea. Molly and I are really similar. We were both athletes growing up. We have very similar values and work ethics. But she's pretty strong-willed, and we're both very opinionated. So we're like, this could go really badly or really well.
Recipe for disaster.
So we talked a lot about it, and she specifically came in for Inventory Smart.
Okay.
We were like, we really need somebody to take this and sell it. So, because I was really focused on the product itself and making it successful. So she came in and got after it, and this is just exactly where she needed to land, because she thinks very operationally. She's really good at understanding an operation and figuring out what they need and how we can adjust to make that happen. So
it ended up working out.
It's working out so far.
So far,
working out,
thank God.
And her sister went to Notre Dame, right? She also played it. She was also an athlete.
Wow, a very smart and well-exercised family. So, I mean, and naturally, you and your sister have had to have challenges along the way. I mean, I know working with my brother, you kind of have to figure each other out a bit, how to communicate in a business environment. Right. Can you talk about that a little bit? Have you guys gone head to head and worked it out and figured this, dynamic out, or you just naturally knew?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge was to not have work be all-consuming all the time. Yeah. And even with my mom, still, it was like, every time we got together, she just wanted to talk work. Yeah. We're like, okay, we've got to take a break for a second.
Create some boundaries.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's just pretend we don't work together right now, and let's talk. And especially, we have an older sister.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So she's a stay-at-home mom, and she's awesome. We keep trying to pull her into the company, but I think she knows that might not be the best thing. But it's important for us to be able to separate, especially when she's around. Like, we don't need to be talking shop all the time. So
it might be isolating for her too.
But I think too, it's almost like, how are you? And then it goes into work, and it's like, no. Right. Like, how are you actually doing? Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, do you go through that sometimes? I mean, when you were at Index
every day of my life. Is
that
way. Yeah.
Alrighty
so
then.
I separated trucks from my family business in 2019, but we still we'll share space, offices share ideas. We're very collaborative, both companies together. But yeah, I mean, my dad would, come in and, hey, I'm going to come in town. Let's grab a glass of wine. And then the whole discussion is work. But I mean, I'm guilty of it too. You don't even realize that you're doing it because it is all consuming. I mean, when your life is really your business, it's hard to find that boundary.
Yeah.
So yeah, to answer, yes, still working on it. I'm a work in progress, trying to create the boundaries.
And it doesn't really bother me too much, but I think we have to just be intentional about making sure that we
absolutely.
also
like Thanksgiving, right? You don't want to talk about Bill, the bad customer you have, right?
Yeah. What's your P&L looking like?
Yeah, what's your P&L? Are we hitting goal? Right? Strategically, are we aligned for next year? It's like, no, we're at Thanksgiving.
And my dad runs a company too, so he has different ideas and different opinions, and so we're like, okay, let's just eat some turkey.
Eat the damn turkey. Shut up.
So you grow your guys are growing rapidly. You guys are getting into different verticals, and you guys are having success and starting to penetrate other markets too, which is great. Where are you guys now, right? Because recently you went through a major shift, in your organization.
Well, right now we are in a really good place, and we feel like we're on that precipice of a lot of growth, which is exciting. But the transition was tough. It was rocky. I think every M&A is just really it's never as smooth as it.
Right.
And when you add in family business, there's a lot of emotions tied to that. Yeah.
Yes, and you feel responsible for it. So my grandmother passed in 2020, and then this came up in 2021. We were approached by another company about acquiring us. And so the whole time you're like, we called her Babby. What would Babby say? What would Babby think? And I really just kept going back to, she would be so proud that there's another company that wanted to buy us. Like, she started this just like we did. Just, it was in her basement of her house, and she was doing it herself.
Yeah.
And then she built it to be this big company that somebody else wanted to buy and pay for. So how awesome is that?
Yeah,
So she built it in a basement. You built it, what, in your brother's room?
No, that sounds weird.
Well, no. I mean, he's a programmer, so like he obviously like you built it.
Yeah, I mean, well, my brother is the developer behind the original product, and so he was cranking it out in a weekend. But I was throwing ideas at him, every 2 seconds.
So I was not in a basement, and I was not in a bedroom. But when I started my venture, it was at a kitchen table.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you look at that, right? Because everyone's like, oh, that's just something in a movie, like it's
Yeah.
scripted.
No,
and I was
it's
like, no, that's
real.
real life, man. That's
It
that's
is.
how an
We
idea
started-
comes to fruition, and you just keep going
We
with
started
it.
Mind and Social at lunch. I remember we had ideas and we went to lunch.
That's right.
And started
We
to throw
did.
ideas out.
Oh man,
So
it was
great.
that Italian sandwich.
Yeah.
That thing was amazing. I stopped, the sandwich.
sandwich.
The sandwich was so good. I stopped listening to you. I just wanted to, I was like, this sounds like a
that's
great
just the
idea.
story of
Let's
our
do it.
lives.
That sounds great. Thumbs up.
So you said that the transition was rocky.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think we tried to do too many things at one time. So it was a company out of Dallas, and they wanted to move their headquarters to Denver. So they had
Okay.
to move an entire warehouse that had been there for maybe 30 years.
Wow.
They wanted to move our space in Denver, a warehouse that we had product there for 40 years, into one big warehouse.
Yeah.
And so they picked a space that was a brand new build, which is a nightmare in itself, getting all the permits and the timing of it. So to time basically two major moves, and then there were several others. Moving all the product to a big warehouse, moving people, changing who they report to. We changed systems. We did all of it all at one time. and
All
it
while
was-
running the business too, right? Like
so
actively.
you're like building the plane while you're
Yeah.
flying it, right?
Right, right.
And so it's just,
Molly's coming out left field saying, I got a new customer. You're like, no.
Yeah. What? No, so actually, the inventory smart piece of it was solid
Yeah.
Right.
because there was no product
Right,
involved.
Yeah.
right.
But Molly and I mean, we look back at that time. It was all of 2022, and I mean, I'm not opposed to working hard, but I have never actually put that much work into my company than I did that year, and it just didn't feel. It's one thing to get new business and like you're building it and you're
Yeah.
doing such a great job, and it's another thing to put all those hours in just to like keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
So it was a tough time. We knew we had to go through it, but we landed on our feet. We have a really solid foundation, and now we're ready to.
So, I mean, from a personal aspect, when you go through any type of M&A, and like I said, with family business, that has to be emotional. I mean, you guys you have Thanksgiving dinner on the table and the people, and does everyone agree that we're doing this? I mean,
Yeah.
how is your family handling that transition? I know they're all really proud.
It's a
and it
good
worked out for
question.
the best,
No,
but-
it's a good question. It was a tough time deciding to do
Yeah.
it, and then when it was really rocky, it was like, oh my God, did we make the wrong
Right.
decision? I feel so lucky with the parents that I got blessed with, but my mom was just always very much like, this is the right
Yeah.
thing. Just keep doing it.
Keep going.
After it. Like, don't pull back. Don't question it.
Yeah.
Like, we made the decision. We know it's the right thing. And part of the contract was my mom had 2 years and then she retired, and I'm not sure she was ready to retire. So we kind of felt bad about that, but she didn't know what she was going to do with herself.
Right,
and then,
right.
of course, she's now busier than ever and doing her thing. But
That's hard. That
Yeah.
is hard. My dad has, talked about retiring, and I can't ever imagine him retiring. I like, because he genuinely, I think, enjoys
Yeah,
working.
yeah,
so
absolutely.
right,
it's a hard transition for sure.
just needs to find a new purpose.
Yeah, and I think people don't realize that when you start a business, especially family or a small business that you grow from the ground up, your value is a little bit tied to that. And it's hard to untangle
Absolutely.
your value with the company. It shouldn't be that way, but when the company's doing well, you innately are like, okay, I'm doing a good job.
Right.
I'm worth it, right? I did the right thing. And when there's going to be rocky times, you're like, wow, I'm a shithead.
Well, now that and now that you've been able to diversify your company, right,
Yeah.
in a sense where it's not just 60% one customer, right, which is you lose sleep over, or even heavy just on one industry. You're starting to go into different industries. A show like we're at today in the past couple of days, Shows like this, I've seen a lot of facility management companies spark interest in what you guys are doing, because they all have inventory too, right? They have inventory, they buy equipment, they buy chemicals, they whatnot. Are you starting to see a lot of attention coming your way from that industry?
So many. This show has been eye-opening and exciting because I feel like we're a solution they haven't seen before, and a lot of facility managers are coming our way and are so excited about it. And I love seeing the wheels turn, and they're like, oh, we could use it for this, and we could do it for this, and our customer could do it for this. And so it's been awesome. This has been a really, really exciting show for us.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I knew of this product when I was running facilities. Because again, it's so easy to use, right? But it's so powerful, right? And how it can impact your business. When you're a janitorial company, you know, you also often sign these large contracts that you have fixed costs for your inventory. So you can't go back to your client and say, hey, you know, we're 20% overage. We need more money.
We overordered.
Yeah, they're going to be like, cool.
Yeah.
Looks like you guys are not going golfing this weekend. Like, but I can safely say, and I don't ever vouch for any product or anything. I never do this. But if you are a facility management company and you do listen to us on the podcast, definitely check out Inventory Smart.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks.
Because it definitely is a product that can help you. Regardless of the size of company you are, it doesn't matter. You could be a large entity or a small entity. Like, everyone has inventory, everybody purchases thing, and you always want to be proactive with that.
For sure. Well, you know, as you guys are talking about, you know, the product you're growing, all of this stuff, naturally that means you're growing in headcount as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think about transitioning from doing the work to becoming a manager to, you know, overseeing people, now overseeing a company. How do you feel on the management side? Are you, like, from a leadership standpoint, what's your style? It's just something I've always been curious with.
Yeah, I love asking people that too, because there are definitely different leadership styles. But I think the most important thing in being a leader is to be genuine. Be genuine to yourself, to your strengths. You can admit when you're not good at something, when you're wrong, be accountable. So for me, managing people, I want to empower them as much as possible. I want to give them as much knowledge and information as I could possibly give them. Tricks of the trade, like little things that you figure out along the way just from experience. So you want to provide them as much information for them to be successful, and then let them go.
Right.
Like they've got to be able to feel the pain of failure and the excitement of the things that come along that are really that they accomplish. They need to be able to feel that themselves, and that they did that, and that it's successful for the company and it's failures for the company. We're backing them up, we're supporting them, but they need to be able to do all that on their own.
So how did you learn this? Because it sounds very similar to the way that you're talking about your mom, that she's very empowering. Is the same leadership style, like, did you learn that from your mom, or did you have to grow into this and, you know, find your own path on it?
Yeah, I'm definitely a different personality than my mom, so I had to put my own spin on it. But I think the ultimate, or like the core value of just being genuine definitely came from my mom. And she's tried different things. She's like, I tried to just be this kind of like hardcore leader, and that is just not her. It's not her in any capacity. So when she talks to, you know, the president of a company, or she talks to an executive housekeeper, she talks to them the same way. And same thing with people in the company. Our warehouse workers are the same as her EVPs as far as respect and how she talks to them. I think, and that's why people have always loved working for her, and they've been so loyal to her. And so that's what I wanted. I wanted people to feel supported and feel valued.
I think authenticity is a big key on that. I mean, that's what we've talked about from a leadership standpoint, is just being authentic along the way. And you know, I've candidly had to do the similar thing. You find your own style. You wear one hat and you're like, this is what I should be, especially when you're younger. Like, you know, you're trying to find your own, make sure people don't question you. And then when you kind of step into it and you realize that that's not authentically me, and people can see that, right? So it's hard to adapt. What's your leadership style, Pat?
That's a whole nother episode. That's my 4 o'clock with the therapist. No. I like that. And believe it or not, I can relate to that, because we've done like I don't want to say studies on me. That's not
We're
what I
still
meant.
studying. I used to work with monkeys in my first job, and now I'm still working.
Yeah. So, but one of the things that I've learned is people will respect you more and respect your leadership and follow you if you provide them with a feeling of being seen.
Yeah.
Right. And so we always talk about CEOs and stuff that walk in another door, walk in the back door, don't
Right.
say hi to people
Right.
and whatnot. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah.
That is absolutely the worst thing you can do. And I am the way I am at work. And you actually have seen this. I am the way I am at work just the same way I am in my personal life.
Yeah.
There is no change. This is who I am. This is what you're going to get.
Yeah.
You're going to get a guy who shows up in sneakers and a sports coat, and I can talk to a president, an executive, a board team, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But also on my way out, I would talk to the receptionist, I would talk to the janitor, and I would talk to everyone exactly the same way and show them the same level of respect
Absolutely.
on there. Because it's funny, what I've learned in my career, coming from facility management, is that the cleaner is going to tell you more raw information than the executive is going to tell you.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to tell you exactly how it should be used and how they will impact them.
Right.
The executive is going to make sometimes the assumption of how they believe it should be used.
Right.
But the day in the life, I like to call it, since we're at ISSA, the day of life of a janitor, right?
Yeah.
Understanding their challenges, their views. And they're really the buy-in, right? Because if they are
That's
using
exactly
it, that's
right.
driving value upstream versus people think that, oh, I got a meeting with the CEO, which is great. You know, it's great you had the meeting with the CEO. But all the operators behind it should be behind you before you go and speak with them. So
Yeah,
a
that's-
lot of times people think it's all top down, and
No.
I think it goes both ways.
Yep.
Like you have to have that.
You have to
communication
have the
across.
buy-in, and that's something, a barrier that we had to cross, because we had a Wyndham. It was Wyndham Vacation Ownership at the time was our biggest client, and they decided to use Inventory Smart. But what we had to get through to the housekeepers and the maintenance techs that were using it is that we're supporting you. Like,
Right.
we get that they decided this
Yeah.
for you, but you tell us when it's not working.
Yeah.
You tell us when something's too difficult
I
or
love
it's
that.
convoluted.
I love that.
So we wanted to build that open communication with them and just have that feeling that they can reach out to us at any point. We had one lady, and I think she sometimes just calls us just to talk because we are her like therapist, and it was so funny. We're like, there she is again, and we call. So we talk for 30 minutes with her, and a lot of times it had nothing to do with Inventory Smart. It was just all her other problems, and that's great. But she loved that she could just reach out to us and say, hey, you know, this takes 3 steps when really I think it could take 1.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to bring it to corporate, but at least we got the ideas from them, because
Right.
we're not in there doing their job every day. They are, and we want them to be successful with the system.
Yeah, and that culture that's huge. I mean,
It
that's
is.
what makes you so successful. And out of curiosity, you know, when you go through an acquisition or a merger, you're merged with a company that might have a completely different culture. How do you guys maintain that identity as Inventory Smart during this process?
That was tough.
Yeah.
That was really tough, and for them to understand the value of Inventory
Yeah,
Smart.
yeah.
I think when they first acquired us, they didn't realize how great it was.
Yeah. You're like,
and-
surprise!
Oh, yeah. You
Look at us
got
now.
lucky. Yeah, I know. So we really had to prove ourselves
Sure.
there. And I think Molly and I got even closer during that time, just because we felt like we had to hang on to
Yeah.
that. We had to hang on to our identity and who we were and what we knew was successful. And we're open to learning and talking about new ideas and how to go about things differently and trying different things. But we were pretty confident
Yeah.
in where we were and our product and where we could go with it.
Yeah. That's
So held
that's
strong to
beautiful, because
that.
it's a hard challenge. I mean, you have a new company that you're either reporting to or merged with or whatever that is, and you know you've created this whole identity for however long it was, since 1960. Like, I mean, damn, it's like you're like, don't fuck with that.
Yeah.
So, what's next for you? Not Inventory Smart. What's next for you?
In my life,
Yes.
Yes, Lindsay. You do have one of those,
I
right?
I think so. I hope I still have one when I go home. So I have 3 boys. There's identical twin 16-year-olds and a 13-year-old. So I've got the twins that are juniors in high school, about to go off to college, and that's just crazy and exciting all
Are
at the
they
same
are they
time.
are they thinking to follow your alumni, or are they?
Do they want to be doctors?
I know. I do not.
Should
They
you
have
tell them they're going to want to be doctors and they're going to end up in sales?
yeah, exactly. I think they are going to skip the whole medical school thing and go straight to. They actually have this whole plan of starting a business themselves
way.
together.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
So they're they're like well on their way, and they're wrestlers, and Florida doesn't have a wrestling program, so they're
More
looking at other
athletes.
things.
I mean, damn. Just, what genes are in this family?
Yeah.
We need to replicate
Just
that.
show up to that Thanksgiving dinner. Everyone can kick your ass. Like, so you have 3 kids. They're looking college. So that's kind of cool though. That I wonder if you ever asked them like going into business with their brother, right, together.
Yeah.
Do you think that correlates directly with how they've seen you and your sister?
I feel like that.
That's beautiful.
Definitely.
Yeah, that is really
Okay, that's a movie.
Hallmark movie.
That's a Hallmark movie.
You put a Christmas snow on it, and you got a Hallmark.
Yeah, you got a Hallmark
It's
movie.
beautiful.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
They're awesome. They were challenging little kids, but they
Naturally.
have energy and this like entrepreneur spirit, and they can talk to anybody. They were those 4-year-olds that could talk to great grandma. They could talk to anyone in the grocery store.
I love that.
They-
I love that.
yeah.
So, from a personality standpoint, I mean, can you envision them in a business and working together and being successful? Or are you like, hey, maybe you should start 2 separate businesses?
Yeah. They just do life together.
Yeah.
They always have.
I feel like that's a twin thing. Very much a twin thing.
They will work it out because they know really at the heart of it, and the most important thing is their relationship.
Yeah.
And so I think they will be able to recognize if it's not a good thing, and they'll separate before that happens. But I mean, they want to go to college together. Their poor eventual wives, they want to live next door to each other. Like, this is the whole thing. It's
That's
all
hilarious.
This is adorable.
That's
they have a
hilarious.
pact that if they're 35 and not in a serious relationship or married, they're just going to live the bro life and just go through life like that.
Bro out.
I
It's in a frat house.
I was like, 35's not that old, but whatever. Yeah, and then I've got the 13-year-old. He's just wants to do anything that's different than them.
Ah,
Right.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
He's a golfer and like super smart. I can't even help him with homework anymore. So yeah, he's
I mean, from the 2, what are the sons' name? The twins?
Lance and Emmett.
Okay, and then the 13?
Nick.
Nick, okay. So with Lance and Emmett, I mean, we always talk about this with a lot of companies, but when you work together, have partners, co-founders, whatever it is, you got to have strengths that are opposite of your partner,
Yeah.
right? And vice versa. Do you see that with your sons? And do you see that with you and Molly?
That's a good question. Lance and Emmett have very similar personalities, and I think they wished that they were good at different things, like in school.
Yeah.
They're both really good at science and math, that kind of thing. But they do have different strengths when it comes to like a business setting that I can
Right,
see.
right.
Lance is the kid that he really makes everybody feel comfortable in every conversation. And Emmett is like just this go-getter, and so is Lance, but like they're just, you can see where
It
they
complements, yeah.
And Molly and I feel like are really similar, but we also have different strengths, and we think about things a little bit differently. So it's nice to be able to bounce ideas off each other and how we can implement something and try to think through all the, you got to play devil's advocate and how it might go wrong.
Yes.
So we love working together because I know that like her brain will think of something different than mine will.
Right.
I think, you don't want yes men around you, whether that's in your family or just in business.
Well, Molly is definitely not that, so we got that going for her. She will tell me when something's
She's
wrong.
like, this is a dumb idea.
Exactly. And she won't sugarcoat it. So
That's the thing about family. They
Yeah.
never sugarcoat.
Well, I also don't sugarcoat
Oh,
anything.
Lord,
to
do
you.
I know?
But I just pick the worst times to say it.
Like having
I'll call her at like 7:15. It's like, hey, let me tell you something.
Yeah, I
this
mean,
just popped into my head.
Yeah,
God.
late nights or early mornings, I get a phone call from Pat, and it's like, hey, by the way, we just lost $3,000, and no, I'm kidding, it's not that bad.
But no, we always, mine is always, I always go into planning mode. So I will call her at like 9:30 in the morning,
Right.
9:30 at night, and be like, hey, listen. She's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, hey.
Like, I'm thinking it's a fire.
Yeah, and then I'm,
Like, what's up? The business still okay? I'm like, yeah, no. Yeah, gotta love the ISSA
yes.
overhead.
Which I don't want to be sidetracked here, but I'm going to. Why are they announcing that the floor will be open in 10 minutes when everyone
Nobody's
in
here.
Exactly. It's just the vendors. Like did the announcement go on the outside?
But being a yes man, you're about to talk about how you.
Well, I mean, I'm a no guy. Like I'm just I'm yes and no, but I'm more like understanding of like a realist. Like, I wish I was more visionary, I guess is the right word, or optimistic. I always look at things from what could go wrong, and I think that's the operator brain in me.
Yeah.
That's
where I'm
what we
like,
need.
Right.
Yeah.
like I'm gonna
That's
go look at
exactly
5
right.
different scenarios that could
Yeah.
possibly go right and wrong, and then have a plan for each one of those.
Yeah.
And I go into overdrive, and it comes to me late at night, and then so she has to hear that either
Bullshit.
early in the morning.
You
or
need to
late
just
at,
record it.
Yeah, like
and
don't
then-
you have like a dream
Yeah.
journal or something
Yeah.
you can jot this down?
So, but okay, so you go through. You have your kids.
Yeah.
They're getting ready to go to college. You have a 13-year-old. I have a 13-year-old too, and he's all about sports and everything. And so
That's awesome.
that's awesome. There, and I already have a college one as well. But what do you want to do? Like, what's your vision of what you want to do next? It doesn't have to be next year, but where do you see where you want to go?
Well, I see this company really taking off.
Yeah.
So from a professional perspective, I see things are going to be a lot different. We're going to have a lot more
Yeah.
people. We're
Right.
going to have to really grow just the infrastructure of the product
Right.
to accommodate growth, which we already have plans for. So I see in 3 years even Inventory Smart looking a lot different from a business
Wow.
perspective.
I love it.
Which is
I
really
love it.
exciting. And then I do have a longtime boyfriend, so I think eventually we'll be married and
She's like, no pressure.
and- Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I do. I mean, life is going to change a lot in the next
Yeah,
5 years.
that's
It's
awesome.
weird to have kids leave the home, and but I think from a business perspective, I think we have set ourselves up for some pretty major growth, and we're really excited about it.
Well, now that you just made her boyfriend run out and go buy a ring real fast, she's
Seriously.
like, shit.
She's like, honey, you need to listen to the podcast. Only this one section. It's the last,
Minute
like,
41 and just
So, what advice would you give to someone? Actually, I want to go a little bit deeper with this question because you guys are 2 female CEOs, presidents, and founders. What advice would you give to a female entrepreneur that's looking to build a business? And what challenges you think they could face, and what advice you would give them through those challenges?
Sure. Great question. I think you need to be true to yourself. You need to surround yourself with really good people and not just yes men. I mean, people that are actually going to give it to you straight, but also won't be roadblocks. So you need to have someone that's going to say no, but not no like we're not even going to go down that road. Like, I don't think this is the best way to go about it. Like, you need to have somebody that's going to push it forward. And I think as a female, you need to surround yourself with really strong, supportive other females, because it can be brutal, and women in particular can be nasty.
yeah.
But you need to have a great support system like Tracy. She's awesome. I just
Yeah, the same.
like. I think I feel so much more empowered and motivated when I see other women that are going through it with me,
Yeah.
and have been successful, and you can learn from them. But women, I mean, there are some barriers to overcome, but really, in my mind, I want you to choose the best product out there.
Right.
And I feel like we have a solution for a lot. We're not the solution for everybody, but we have a really good solution for so many companies out there, and you have to be confident in that.
Absolutely. It's tough. I mean, finding yourself when you start a business, I mean, I think you learn more about yourself by starting a business than you do in any other challenge in
Yeah.
life, you know?
Yeah.
Challenges the ego, challenges everything.
Yeah, and I always challenge men to look at women in a different perspective of that, right? You guys are both 2 entrepreneurs, 2 founders, and you created something, right? I always look at when I speak to men who are going through this, and I always say is, when you have your board and you're building a board of advisors, surround yourself with women as well to get their perspective and their understanding of it. And I think that a lot of men don't do that. Don't know why. That's a whole other episode we can get into.
Yeah.
They should. But I've learned a lot of being having a female founder and CEO and understanding her perspective and her challenges and what she goes through. And so I take that, and now when I go and present, or another female is presenting to me of their product and whatnot, I remember the challenges that she says she faced, and to ensure that that's not a repeated pattern, and it ends with, let's say, me, when that female doesn't have to feel that way.
Yeah.
She feels equal, and we're going to pay. And there's been scenarios where I've said, hey, listen, I can't take the meeting today. because I'm not going to give you enough attention that you deserve. So let's reschedule it because you're coming to pitch, and I want to hear it, and I really want to be all in on it. I don't want to waste your time.
That's really
and just
beautiful.
take a meeting just to take a meeting, right? But I can say that working for and knowing you and working for you, Tracy, it's really humbling to see the challenges you guys face and how you can put a smile on it and keep going. Because I know that a lot of times, like, you go into presentations, and I think you've had people question your age. I don't know if that's ever happened to you, or you feel like it's not they're not listening to you the way they should be listening to you, right? And I do think that other women should support other women. And I think we've discussed this, that there's been scenarios where some women are actually harder on the women CEOs and founders when you're doing presentations. And it's like, hey, why are you picking me apart right now like this right now? Like, we're supposed to be banding together to help each other. We see that in the minority side too, right? Being Hispanic and whatnot, with businesses, and we're known, like, and I hate to say this, but we'll be known as like, oh, we started a construction company, we started a cleaning company. And women in power, they're always like, oh, I'm in HR. It's like, no, I'm the badass. I came up with this idea. I'm the founder. Actually, my HR is a man. But that mindset, I think, has to change, right? Women have to support more women, and men have to support women. In this type of endeavor. So
sometimes you have to get past the silly comments. And just keep your focus.
That's true.
And I think it does happen to women a lot. And you want somebody to take you seriously. And talk to you. Don't just come up to talk to me because I'm a woman. Like, talk to me about my product. But you're still going to get that. I don't think you'll ever get away from it. And it happens to lots of different people for different reasons. And so you just have to move past it.
And I have 2 daughters too, so like I don't want them to go through. I'm hoping they don't have to go through those same challenges. So supporting women is important to me because I have daughters too, right? And I don't want them to be paid half or be paid less for the same work. Don't want to go down that road and why we need a female president, but things would be a lot better if we had one. But I do. What advice would you give someone who wants to start a business? Where to start? What to think? What would you do?
Where to start? Somebody you trust. You have to start with people you trust. Obviously, you need investors, but you need investors for the right reason.
Correct.
So you don't want investors that are just looking to invest and sell.
Correct. I call them the $1 million car salesman. Is what I call them. They have no interest in what you're doing. They just want a return. You got to find a strategic one that's going to help you actually grow your business, grow your vision, and believes not only in you, but believes in the product.
And that is a good person.
And that is a good person. Thank you.
Person.
That's a good point.
Key.
So rapid fire 10 questions.
Let's go.
The show's about to start.
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. You ready? So you live in Denver,
yes.
right? Okay. So skiing or snowboarding?
Skiing.
Favorite city to go to for work?
Ooh, Chicago.
Favorite city to go to for your pastime?
For my pastime?
Or vacation.
Vacation. Oh gosh. Sorry. Let's just say anywhere in the Caribbean.
Anywhere in the Caribbean. Okay. Favorite sport?
Baseball.
Favorite team?
Broncos, which is funny.
Although we went to a Rockies game once, right?
Rockies is,
and they hit a grand slam right when we sat down. And then that guy became a Red Sox player. Favorite thing to do when you're completely off to disconnect? Your biggest distraction from work?
Hike.
Something you guys have in common.
Yeah,
there,
it's the same thing.
I need to do that.
Dog or cat?
Dog.
Perfect. What type of dog?
Big. Any big dog.
Big dog.
I like rescues. I get rescues.
Yeah.
They're the best.
What is your favorite family memory that you have?
Oh my gosh.
Damn, we just got deep.
Yeah, right.
It could be anything. Christmas, Thanksgiving.
I know. We as a family, we have taken, and we still do take amazing vacations. So
Great.
just time together.
Yep. I think you're almost at that 10 mark.
I think I'm almost at that 10 mark.
People are flooding into the conference.
Absolutely.
So
we want you to get back to your booth. But
thank you so much. And congratulations to you guys for all your success, all the transitions. It's beautiful and truly inspiring to watch and to be a part of on the sidelines.
We feel the same way with you guys. And thanks for all your support and for letting me be part of this.
Let's go take over the world.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much
Lindsey.
for doing this.
Thank you, guys.
can't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be. When by any means, only thing that makes sense to me, I can make nice or make history. I got that dog in me,